Every once in a while, I run into a pattern that has a knit band, but for some reason, it just doesn't want to stay in place. Sometimes it's the fabric choice, sometimes it's the pattern measurements. Hi, I'm Allie, the literary sewist. Here in my crafting castle, I create projects inspired by the books I review. But today, in this video, I'm going to show you how to solve this annoying problem and to keep your clothes in place. If you're new here, please consider subscribing to my channel for future installments of my bookish sewing goodness, including book review inspired sewing projects, sewing tutorials, and all the book chat you can handle. Okay, if you haven't figured it out, we're going to be using elastic to fix this problem. So we want to make sure we're using the right elastic. I prefer to use knit elastic like this. You can also get waistband elastic. These are essentially the same thing. The difference is this one's a little bit softer. Generally, they're only found in wider sizes like the 2-inch size. So if you're going to be doing a project that's for a waistband, make sure it's soft and it isn't going to roll. The kind that you don't want to get is braided elastic. This elastic tends to wear out pretty quickly and will wear down after being washed several times. You don't want it to get brittle and start to fall apart because then you'll just have to fix things all over again. So start with the knit elastic and you're going to be much better off. However, if you're using a medium to heavyweight fabric for your bottom part, that's going to be held up by the elastic, you might want to go with a woven elastic. It's a little bit thicker, a little bit stronger, and just gives a little oomph that sometimes those heavier fabrics really need. Also, you're going to want to keep in mind the width of your band as well. If the band is already attached and you're measuring between the seam and the fold of the band itself, you want your elastic to be at least 1/4 inch less than the width of your band between the folded fabric at the top and the seam allowance at the bottom. For example, I'm going to be fixing a band that's 2.5 inches between the seam allowance and the folded fabric. So I will be using a 2-inch waistband elastic for this project. First, you need to measure your waist. Using a reliable measuring tape, wrap the tape around the area the waistband will sit on your body. Make sure you aren't sucking it in. Take a deep breath and relax. If you don't, you may end up with elastic that is too tight. Now check your measurements, then subtract 2 inches. This is the length you'll cut the elastic. Pro tip, before cutting the elastic, stretch the elastic to break it in. Wrap the elastic around your waist where it'll sit, using a safety pin to hold the ends together. Time to wiggle and stretch. If the elastic stays in place, then you're golden. If it slides down, you will want to take out a little more elastic to make it shorter. If it is riding up, then you need to add more length to it. This may mean cutting a new piece of elastic. If you're making something for the first time and know you want to add elastic to it, go ahead and check out my Sew Perfect Bands video right over here, or the links in the description as well. The main difference between that video and this video is you're going to leave a little bit of an opening for the elastic to slide through right at your seam line. If you're altering something that's already been completed, like this, then you're going to want to use a seam ripper to open it up just a little bit more than your elastic is and a little bit more room. So if your elastic's 2 inches wide, you probably want to open it 3 inches to 4 inches wide. All right, now that we have our little hole opening here, you can see the little detached from the legs of the pants. So we've got our opening right here. Now we need to weave this through. A lot of people will use a safety pin at the end. There are other tools for threading elastic. My favorite tool is this nifty little bodkin right here. It's just a little tongs type thing. You grip your elastic with it, slide it closed, and that'll guide you through the hole. So then you're just gonna guide it all the way through, keeping it nice and straight as you get started. Before you get very far, take a safety pin, attach it to the other end of your elastic, and also attach that to the outside of where the casing is for your elastic, because you don't want to end up pulling this all the way through the thing, because you remember it's got to stretch, so it pulls it all in nice and tight. If you do that, then you're just going to end up starting this step all over again. So now we're going to weave this through. When you're through, secure the two ends together and straighten your elastic. Let's head to the machine and close things up. The most common method of closing elastic is to overlap the ends, then zigzag back and forth to keep the elasticity while securing everything nice and firm. My method is a little different. Using a piece of scrap fabric as the back, line up the ends of the elastic side by side and pin to the fabric scrap. Make sure there are no gaps and the ends are together nice and snug. Then we will sew the zigzag stitch over the joint seam. Keeping everything tight and flat, zigzag back and forth several times to lock it in place. Trim off the excess scrap fabric. Leave a little on each side, but make the edges flush with the elastic. Pull the elastic into the band and prepare to close it up. Be sure not to catch the elastic in the seam when you're sewing. One more bonus optional step. Stitch in the ditch of your seams at the back and each side. This will help keep the elastic from rolling. Now put it on and check your wiggles. Thank you so much for joining me today. If this video was helpful in keeping your pants up, please give this video a thumbs up and be sure to subscribe to this channel and ring the bell so you're notified every time there's a new sewing tutorial, a book review inspired sewing project, and all the bookish sewing goodness you can handle. Until then, see you next time.